Hey Sun Space Sun, I'm Daisy Victoria, and today we are going to try out block printing. Wood block printing is something that has been used for centuries. It dates back at least to the 2nd century in China, and probably even before that. Wood block printing spread throughout Asia, and eventually in the Middle Ages it reached Europe as well. Wood block printing has been used to print on many different textiles and many different art projects all throughout time. And it's even a forerunner to printing text, which also used wood block printing in its original form. Some of the famous artwork that we know today has been wood block printed. Even that famous wave painting, The Great Wave by Hokusai, Japanese artist, wood block printing. It's provided us so much beautiful art, and today I'm so excited to try it out for myself for the very first time. Wood block printing on fabric is pretty easy to do, it turns out. It just takes a few simple supplies. So you can get wood blocks from a variety of places. You can actually carve them out yourself. So wood blocks are created by taking a block of wood and then carving out the design that you want in it. So basically the design is raised, and then the indentation parts that you've carved out will not show when you stamp it. I'm using a couple of wood block stamps on these projects that I'm going to show you. Both the projects that I'm wood block printing are summer dresses made out of linen blends. The green dress that I made is linen cotton blend, and the pink dress is linen rayon blend. I believe both of them are around a 50-50 blend. It might be like 55-45, something like that. Both of these dresses are really cute summer styles. I love them and they're super comfortable, and I will be digitizing the pattern for this dress, and I will put that up in my shop, so I'll link it when I have it digitized. The pink dress is actually just a shorter version of the green dress. So it's the same pattern, I just cut the skirt off shorter. So the first stamp that I got to use for the green dress is a lotus design, and I really love the symbolism of the lotus. So the lotus is known to symbolize rebirth and regeneration in many different cultures, and that's because the lotus blossom, when it blooms, it will open up and then it will close back up again at night. And because I've been going through a time in my life where I feel like I'm exploring regrowth and a rebirth, I really identify with the lotus symbol right now, so I wanted to incorporate that in my dress. I also purchased some wood blocks from Kathmandu Designs. They sell at SCA Wars. They also sell on Etsy. SCA is Society for Creative Anachronism. If you love like reenacting medieval stuff like I do, you can definitely check out the SCA, but either way, you can get their wood blocks. So if you just like medieval inspired things for your clothes or whatever projects you're doing, they're right there for you. So this is the one that I am using on my pink dress, and it's really cool. I love all types of cats, so this stamp really called to me. Now, to do block printing, you really don't need very much. You need a wood block stamp. Now, I'd like to note that the stamp doesn't have to be wood. You can also 3D print a block stamp. These days, there's other ways to get a hold of a block stamp. Traditionally, it was made of wood. You're gonna need some paint. I like to get whatever acrylic paint looks cool to me. So I've got this one that's treasure gold, kind of shiny. And then I got this purple, also shiny one for my pink dress. So these are just acrylic paints. You can pick these up at Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, wherever you get your craft supplies. You also need some sort of a brush or sponge to transfer the paint onto the wood block. I like these little foam brushes here because I find them really easy to take the paint and just kind of dab it all over the stamp. Now the other thing is I like to use this little plastic plate to hold the paint. As you can see, it's got lots of that gold and purple paint right in there because I used it for both. And that way I can pour the paint into the plate and I can use the sponge to grab the paint off of here rather than trying to put the paint directly on the sponge and making a huge mess, because I know that's what would happen. Oh, the other thing you might need is a hammer or mallet or something to hammer this down onto your fabric or whatever you're printing on. And that's just to make sure you get a nice, bold, even distribution of the paint from the stamp onto your fabric. Now, as I'll show you, I actually found that on my large stamp, this guy, I was able to step on it and get that effect much more easily. So, you know, do what you want to as long as it works, right? So that's really all you need. Basically something to hold the paint, a little sponge brush, and a block for printing, and obviously the item you want to print on. For me, it was my dresses, and I did sew these dresses before printing onto them. I would like to note that historically a lot of textiles were block printed onto prior to being cut out. Now you can still do that today, obviously, or you can print onto something after you've created it. Personally, I love trying things that push me to learn new things and try new techniques I haven't done before. And I love putting personalized touches on clothing. And the fact that block printing goes back so far in history and has such a rich tradition behind it just makes it that much cooler. So I'm going to show you how I block printed these dresses. On both of the dresses that I block printed, I wanted to print around the hem of the skirt. So I actually pre-divided the skirt into equidistant portions. So I folded it in half and then in quarters and then in eighths and sixteenths, blah, 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 until I had the right amount for the size of the stamp. And that way I would make sure my stamping was even all around. I started by taking some of my acrylic paint and pouring it into that little plastic plate there. And then I used that little sponge to dip into the paint and then distribute that paint all over my wood block. Now do keep in mind that you can mix paint colors in here. You can put different colors on different parts of the stamp. That is something I've seen people do before. For this one, we're doing a pretty simple, just straight up wood block print design. Once the paint is on the stamp, then you take the stamp and you just stick it right there onto your fabric and then press down on it. So you want to either hit it with the hammer, which is what I did for all of the lotus stamping, or if you want to try what I did on the pink dress, I actually stood on my toes like on top of the stamp and pressed down on it with my body weight. So whatever works for you, right? Once you peel the stamp off, you can see how your design came out, and you just repeat that all around. That's really all there is to block stamping, just technique-wise. I will tell you a couple of observations and tips and analyses based on my first couple of garments. The lotus stamp was definitely the easier stamp to use, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But first, something you can do if your print doesn't really transfer enough ink, you can actually repaint the stamp and then put it back on top of that prior inking that didn't quite get all of the paint on it properly. Now, if you do this, you have to line it up really carefully so that it lines up perfectly on there. I did try this because my first print with that larger, more medieval stamp did not come out very well inked. So that taught me also that I needed to make sure I got enough paint onto the stamp so that I could do the rest of them much better. So notice how on the lotus stamp, design edges are very, very thin, right? Now notice on this one, there's a lot of area on the raised designs, and that's going to make a difference. So the lotus, which was very, very thin on all the design ridges, easy to get even paint. While not every design is absolutely perfect looking, there is some variance. That's actually something that I really like about the look of hand-done block printing. So to me, that's preferable. Now, As you can see on the pink dress, there's a lot more room for error because of all this wide surface here on each of the prints, basically. So each time I press down on it, it's likely to be different because there's more chances for it to be different. Now, that said, you can absolutely come back in with a paintbrush and fill in those areas so that they are perfect. So that basically will give you a more perfect look. Personally, I actually prefer the look where it's imperfect because I think that just adds like an artistic touch to it, because that means every stamp is unique. Like there will never be two stampings that are exactly the same, even though they all come from the same stamp. And to me, that is just something I really appreciate. There's sort of a consciousness of every single human press of the stamp in each design. And so I think that's really special. But either way, whether you fill them in or not, it's totally up to you. I'm so excited to wear both of these dresses out and about for summertime. I feel so cute in these dresses and I just love the block printing. This is something you can use to empower yourself to create all kinds of art. It could be on fabric, it could be on paper, it could be on something else. So if you guys do try out wood block printing, I would absolutely love to see what you do. You can find me on all the social medias as Daisy Victoria. My website is daisyvictoria.com. And thank you so much to my patrons over on Patreon who help me so much to continue creating content for all of you. I hope you have an amazing, magical day, and I will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.